let's talk about Australian Survivor Redemption episode 5. Obviously, spoilers, but let's just jump right into this. So, we come from episode 4 with the Bounty Tribe going to Tribal for a third time with a 7-2-1 vote against Paula. They go back and Harry's like, "Bro, I don't even know what to do. Like, what is going on here? Like, who can work with me?" He tries to do damage control with Jackson and is like, "Hey, yeah, a move was made on me." And so Jackson supposedly bites into the bait. But we also see, which I forgot to mention on my last episode, that Simon actually also participated in taking a shot at Harry. And I got a bit of problems with that given the context of this episode and today about Simon. Like, this is where he starts to become a bad game player, in my opinion. He can recover, but we'll get into it in just a moment here. Jackson supposedly buys into it, but then he also goes to Lottie. Lottie's like, "Yeah, we kind of needed to do it. Paula was just running things." But that was pretty much it on their try for the time being. For the time being, to put it that way. And now we'll go into our very minor characters called the Baron Tribe. Again, this is an episode that is not dedicated to Baron Tribe at all, except for a little snippet of Mark's really awesome alliance with Dawn and now Caleb. Caleb, for some reason, is taking center stage, so I'm thinking while watching the episode, I'm like, oh, is Baron gonna go to Tribal and then vote out Caleb because he's such an annoying, loud, obnoxious character? And by the way, I got issues with Caleb. Let's talk about him for a second. He's loud, he's obnoxious, and his laugh is completely fake. Like him. He actually really isn't a fan of Survivor, and he was recruited 110% because who acts like that? Like, dude, are you the Joker or do you belong in a mental institution? I don't know. You should pick one, and probably the second one because that laugh was creepy and weird. Like, why are you like this, dude? Like, your opening confessional on episode 1 was fantastic. Where's that energy now? You're just playing a crazy character. You're not gonna redeem yourself, dude. And we'll see that later in today's episode. But also on the Baron Tribe, we have Mark's alliance, and then we have Johnson's alliance. However, Caleb decided to put it upon himself to play the middle in the worst way possible. So when you are given the option to play in the middle, well, you don't make it obvious. That's the first thing. You just don't make it obvious. He goes over to Johnson, and Johnson's like, "Yeah, our alliance is gonna vote out Mark when given the chance here. All right, dude, don't blow this." So Caleb runs over to Mark and says, "Yeah, Johnson and his little crew here are gonna target you. Okay, dude, you need to be ready." And Mark obviously is so thankful that Caleb shared that wonderful news to him. And Mark saw it as an opportunity to confront Johnson, which, by the way, was one of my favorite moments of the season so far because Johnson really did kind of crumble, but also he kind of stood his ground. He was like, "No, I didn't. Those are lies. Lies. That came from, like, somebody else." Mark just knows, like, Survivor players can tell a lie. Big Brother players can tell a lie. Mark knows Johnson's game pretty well, and I don't even know if Johnson even watched Survivors. I don't even know if they put that in the edit. He probably did. So now we have a fractured Baron Tribe. We have Mark's side and Johnson's side. I wish I could say more than Mark and Johnson's side because, like, there are 11 people in that tribe because they took out Kat in episode 2. But man, they need to go to Tribal so we can see more of them. But like the way I'm talking, that's all the information I have. And actually, as I was saying that, I remembered Dawn. Dawn is taking center stage a little bit. So last episode 4 to be specific, he was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna reveal to anyone that I'm the brother of Matt Rogers," and he said that to Mark. So in episode 5, he decided to tell the whole freaking tribe. I was sitting there just so dumbfounded, by the way. Like, I'm understanding of bad moves, but I'm not understanding when you say one thing and then just literally do the other thing in a span of like 24 hours, 48 hours even. Like, people really go on that island and just forget some of the stuff they say, and Don is one of them. I was giving credit to Don that I'm like, he's playing his cards very well. Well, now he's playing his cards really awful, by the way. He is on the bottom of the tribe, and saying that he's the brother of Matt Rogers, he's going to be placed on the bottom of the tribe. Like, really, they're going to target him because the whole Baron tribe, when they go to tribal, they're going to be like, yeah, no, you have wisdom. You know what you're talking about. Even though Don has never played Survivor before, he's just a country singer from Australia. For some reason, there's country singers in Australia. How's that even possible? Let's talk about the immunity challenge. This was a very fun immunity challenge, and actually, it was a bit of a twist. So, obviously, okay, Baron Tribe wins immunity, so fitting for their name. They're just bountiful in their wins, but, they're called Baron. So it's really funny. It's really funny that they just cannot stop winning. So now we have a disaster tribe on their hand. Bounty has to go to their 4th tribal council before any swap, before a merge, before even any weird funky tribals that they like to do. They have to go to tribal council again. However, David is like, yeah, bro. Guess what? It's actually an individual immunity challenge. I love when they do this. Like, one of my favorites was in Heroes versus Villains for Australia. And that was like the really exciting tribal where George like did crazy things to Simon, to put it that way. That's why he's on the season. Yeah, so we get into our immunity challenge and we start seeing like who could survive into the merge and like start winning challenges. It was a final battle between Aisha, Harry, and Lyndall. Oh my goodness. So, to give some context, before they even went to the immunity challenge, people were deciding who should go out next. So, Lottie and Harry were deciding to work together and be like, yeah, you know what? We should either target Jackson or Lyndall. And so they actually agreed that Lyndall should go because she's just, not that well connected. And it would be reasonable for the 2 biggest threats of the tribe to go after, like, the weakest person. And so actually everyone was on board for Lyndall to go home. But also what Harry didn't know is if Lyndall won that individual immunity, then Harry would just go. But Harry didn't know that. Lottie didn't tell him that. But that was the plan. It was all going well. And then Aisha drops. So now it's between Harry and Lyndall. It's kind of ironic and iconic at the same time that the 2 targeted people in the Bounty tribe who were supposed to go home are the final 2 in the immunity challenge. The stakes are so high, but the funny part is Lyndall doesn't even know that she's a target. Genuinely, she's not a good player, but she's a cat with 9 lives, as I described it, because she beats Harry at that immunity challenge. And Harry throws this like little peg down and whatnot, and just like throws a fit, and I just like eat it up. It's so good. I think Harry knew that his death sentence was at that point. He needed that immunity win badly. Now, there's one more thing to note that happened after the first part of the immunity challenge. Aisha uses her advantage. The advantage lasts 1 tribal, and she can only use it on episode 5 or 6 before it expires. So, she used it on episode 5. She decided Laws is going to be safe, and Caleb is going to go join that tribe for tribal council, but not during the strategy session. So Laws can actually go to the strategy session, or just, I don't know, the talking phase over at the Baron tribe. So it's safety without power for Laws, right? But Caleb gets the vote in her place, and so Caleb was asking Laws during, I guess, the strategy portion for the Baron tribe, like, who should you vote out? Or who should I vote out? And Law says, you should vote out Harry. And Mark's standing there. For some reason, Mark is just there. And he's like, oh yeah, he's a little nervous. And Caleb's totally on board. But he's totally on board to eradicate all the veteran players, which, by the way, isn't really the best move. And we'll get into that at the tribal council. But switching over into the Bounty tribe, which had a far more interesting strategy session, it's not looking good for Jackson or Harry. They just come to the conclusion that, yeah, our games is just dead in the water. However, it's Survivor. Anything's on the table. We can cause chaos. It started off with Jackson and Harry kind of pitching individual cases. People were really debating outside of them, like, should we go for Jackson because Jackson isn't as a reliable player, because Harry has been in situations like this, but he gets to the end without his allies. But it's like he does make it through the swap, so he could help us. Like, it was a balancing act. Like, do you take the devil you know or the devil you don't know? And that's a really hard decision in Survivor because it's all risk management. A lot of people say that these shows are like gambling, and in a sense, this is a gambling scenario. And it seems very camaraderie, calm, boring-esque tribal. I was hoping that it would start to shake up a bit, and so Harry decided to put on, finally, the Dirty Harry hat and start playing a little dirty. So he goes over to Jackson and is like, yo, dude, what if we just took the flint, put it in one of our pockets, and if they vote up one of us with the flint, y'all starve. That's not really the best move, according to Harry later on. But, like, hey, it's a Hail Mary. It's a shot in the dark, as US Survivor would say. And honestly, it created some fun TV. And actually, that move was happening because we get into the tribal council. Harry and Jackson reveal that they have the flint, but they don't show who has it, right? Not yet. And also, Caleb joins us for the Bounty Tribal Council. Now, let me rip into Caleb. Now, there's Lyndall, right? I ripped into Lyndall earlier, but here's the thing. Lyndall has 9 lives, so you know what? I can forgive her for her mistakes because she is taking calculated risks. Surprisingly enough. Caleb, on the other hand, is not a calculated person and is just dumb as shit. Okay? I don't like him. His tattoos are stupid. He looks stupid. His brain is stupid. When he just blurted out loud in tribal council, we should go after the veterans because they don't deserve another car. They don't deserve the $500,000. Already acting like they won $500,000, by the way. He's acting like they're winners of these shows. And I'm just sitting here and I'm just like, dude, shut up. Shut up. You're disgusting. Gross. Yeah, so Cameron was like, yeah, dude, good thing you're safe because you would have just gone home. And Cameron's absolutely right. Cameron isn't the most out there player or a really strong player, but at least Cameron knows when to speak, and that's just something that Caleb doesn't know how to do, and he just looks dumber every single day. Right now, it's day 11 by then, and yeah, let's just say starvation is kind of catching up to him. And the really funny part about Caleb, he was so confident about taking out players, he was so confident in taking out veteran players that he decided to vote Jackson, who is not a veteran player. He literally looked stupid. And when it comes to the merge, people are going to bring that up. And he's just not going to get a jury vote. He's not. I could see him as a no-vote finalist. I see somebody dragging him to the end because he's just so ridiculous, or being out in the pre-merge because he's just too much. It's one of the other. There's no hope for him. It was a pretty blunt tribal council overall. I feel like people were just very open with their answers. I feel this is very Australian because US Survivor is never really it has moments like this, right? Where tensions can be high. Survivor 49 and Survivor 46 definitely had moments like that. There's one big move it shocked me, and I was like, I don't know if this is a good move, but I think in hindsight, this wins social credit for him. And that's Jackson, because he went along with Harry's plan the whole time up until the very last moment to make a fool out of Harry. First of all, he was praising Harry as this big threat that's willing to go out there, make the big moves, and to just play his heart out. And it was a little backhanded too, because there was a little bit of disrespect, but I wasn't too sure where this was going until he literally pulled out the flint and handed it to Simon. Whoa, the drama is crazy. Now, Caleb, you should learn how to make a TV moment. Take a book from Jackson, because that was a TV moment, not your loud mouth, okay? And so, Jackson, actually, I will give him the move of taking out Harry. He played Harry like a fiddle. Everyone else on that tribe, they were already going to vote Jackson or Harry, and Jackson literally dodged the bullet. It was a 7-1-1 vote, with Harry voting Richard, Caleb voting Jackson, and the rest of the Bounty Tribe voting Harry. Now, coming to episode 6, and let's say that Bounty yet again goes to their 5th tribal council, I don't see Jackson being the vote out. I just don't. Now, the other thing I want to know is Simon. Simon made a move against Harry in episode 4, and then realized he needed to vote out Harry in episode 5 because, like, it was just kind of given with Jackson's move on Harry, pretty much. But as Simon votes out Harry, he's sobbing. He's crying. Like, oh my god, I'm gonna miss you. I'm like, bro, Simon, you voted out Paula. You voted out Paula. You actively worked with Lottie and said, I want to vote out Paula because Harry's doing shifty things, and you ate up Lottie's lie. You, like, it's shocking that I didn't ream into you last episode. I can't believe I forgot about it. But Simon, dude, like, you're playing like an old Simon. I really liked you from episode 1 through 4, but episode 5, you looked like a clown. And it's like, in front of the tribe, I don't know how people are going to respect you in the end. But they see you as a veteran player. They do respect you as a player. You are making actively good social moves and even strategic moves. But I feel like this is where you're starting to lose momentum. So how can you balance it? I'll give you an episode. And hopefully there's a swap coming up, because that's definitely going to change up everything. And based on what I'm saying to anybody now. But right now for the pre-merge, and if we were just going to merge in episode 7, 8, 9, whatever next week, I wouldn't say it's a good game. The cast is messy. The season editing is not the best, but hey, it's solid. They are showing characters. I can see it. The moves are crazy. It feels like Gabon a bit. I'm seeing online that people aren't really like the biggest fan of the season. Like, I know there are people that love this season, right? But there's like audience members that hate this season and say it's awful. Here's the thing though, comparing it to US Survivor, we literally just had Survivor 48, which had a crazy pre-merge to turn out to be one of the like dullest merges we have ever seen in like the 2020s. It was that bad. And then Survivor 49 didn't even pick up in the pre-merge. It wasn't until the merge where like strategy became way more interesting. And let alone Australia versus the world. Sure, it had great characters, but let's be real here. That season was strategically really awful. It was so stale. Like, we all saw Parvati was going to win that from episode 1. But, I really like Australia Survivor Redemption. It's good. Like, I wouldn't say it's one of their best seasons, but I really think it's definitely in the upper half. Like, I can only say that right now because we're only on episode 5 of 24. So, I want to give it more time, let it tell its story, and there's still a lot of ground to be made up, and that season tone can shift at any time. But hey, if you like this video, go ahead and click subscribe, like the video, leave a comment down below. Tomorrow, I will not be talking about Australian Survivor, but I will be talking about Survivor 50, and on Thursday, I will talk about episode 6 of Australian Survivor Redemption. So, stay tuned for more Survivor content.